great to have you here, Rob, director of The Sadness, one of the best films, horror films of the year, for sure. I mean, I'm
Thank
not,
you, man.
I'm not lying. Um, so I wanted to start uh, asking you about the origin of the film, in the sense that it is, I understand, a pandemic film, and why did you choose to make it kind of like in the zombie subgenre in some ways?
Um, it wasn't even my choice. I was asked to make a film because of the pandemic by my financier, Jeffrey Huang. The pandemic happened in Taiwan, and Taiwan dealt with it very effectively early on. So everything was sort of open for business. And Jeff got it in his head that it was a good idea to make a movie. And the best topic for a movie would be something about a pandemic. And I guess his mind immediately went to zombies. You know, 20, 28 weeks later is one of his favorite films. So he was just like, let's make a zombie movie. And then my contribution to the film was resisting that and saying, oh, maybe it would be better if we kind of came up with something original for the two reasons of, one, I think that maybe people might be a little bit sick of zombies, and also two, we're kind of a low budget movie, so we need to come up with something that will make us stand out. So we came up with the idea of making a movie that has sentient zombies that are sadists, and that's basically where it all came from.
What do you think it says, especially about violence, about human violence?
If it says anything about human violence, like any more than any other film, I guess the thing that it is saying is just that violence is terrible, because there's not really a moment in the film. There's not really like a moment in the film where someone is being like brutalized or tortured or hurt. Um, and the film, like the film doesn't treat it as a joke. Like all the violence, I think, is treated very seriously. It's treated very like um, as violence actually is in real life. I think that violence is probably the worst thing that people are capable of doing. So yeah, that's what the film is really saying. If it's saying anything about violence specifically, it's just saying that violence is the most ugly thing that is capable for humans to do.
And especially from the female character perspective, I got a sense that you try to transmit the audience the anxiety of a woman afraid of maybe being sexually attacked. So how important was for you to put that on the screen?
Well, that was very, very important because I don't know why it is. I don't know how. I'm not a sociologist or whatever, but I just feel like the threat of sexual violence is something that is really like a serious kind of like white hot issue when it comes to films. Like if you introduce something about that in a film, especially like in a horror context, I think that it kind of raises the stakes. Sexual assault is among the worst, if not the worst, crime that a person can commit on another person. So establishing like a vulnerable female character and then making the audience empathize with her and like her, and then putting her in that kind of danger, I think just works towards the horror. And at the end of the day, we're trying to make a scary movie, and for me, this is just it just seems like the most direct line to achieving kind of like an intense kind of terror.
You also, I mean, definitely, there are some very shocking and graphic and explicit sequences along the way. One of the most notorious one has to do with an eye. So I wanted to ask you about the challenges in general of achieving this type of shocking and explicit and not for everyone scenes.
I mean, as far as the actors are concerned, I think that I don't think that there was any kind of real problem. I mean, this is what actors do. They know sort of what they're supposed to be doing and why they're supposed to be doing it, and they just you say action and they do it. They make it happen. And I can say that day on set was a very kind of intense day. That I think that there was a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people on set, and not all of them are like hardcore horror fans, and because of that, they don't really understand. They're in their minds. They're like, "What? Why the fuck are we doing this? Like what? Why do we have to make something like this?" So there was a little bit of tension there, but just from people on set, I could feel the maybe the kind of like a discomfort in terms of what we were making. But I mean, everyone read the script in the beginning, and we all knew what we were doing. So I don't really feel terribly concerned with those kinds of feelings. Like we're just making a movie, and also it's not like it's a graphic scene. It's a I would say like the idea is shocking, but the way that it's actually executed is I would say fairly conservative. And I did that on purpose because I felt like I can keep I felt like if I went any further, it almost could be taken as farce. So I wanted to sort of keep the terror, but not go into sort of the into a place where might maybe become farcical or like a joke or something, because I can see that just because of how ridiculous the actual act is. Like if you actually showed it, it could be taken people might take it as if like I think it's funny or something. Like the director thinks it's funny, and I don't think it's funny. I think it's terrible. So that's yeah, I guess I've answered the question.
I agree that most of the film is not funny at all. I mean, I wouldn't spoil the ending, but it's definitely not a happy one. So, but I also got a little bit of dark humor along the journey. So, was that intentional? And if so, how challenging was to balance the tone and make it right?
Yeah, no, I mean there absolutely is. There absolutely are moments of humor sort of throughout the film. But I like I said before, like I tried to make like the sort of violent set pieces fairly serious. But yeah, like between the I can't remember where I heard this from. It was probably from some podcast or whatever. But like I heard that the best uh, the best time to do a scare in a film is immediately after a joke, and the perfect example of that is the scene in Jaws where Roy Scheider is like throwing fish guts over the side of the boat, and he's like come over here, why don't you chum some of this shit? And then immediately afterwards the shark like comes up behind him, and like it's disarming to the audience. Like they're kind of like laughing at this guy giving kind of a funny line, and then they're kind of reacting to that, and they're entirely unprepared for like this reveal of this crazy shark. I mean, the shark doesn't look so good in that movie, but like it looks pretty scary when you see that thing coming out of the water. Anyhow, I didn't actually do that method. Like I never sort of did a joke immediately followed by a scare, but only because only because I only found out about that idea like later. I probably would have done it had I known. But the thing is that you want to just have sort of some variety like in the film, and like I just felt like during some of like the downtime moments where there's not like people running around and screaming, I could still kind of put in a couple little sort of either interesting ideas, or like interesting sort of like something somebody is like telling an interesting story about something they saw, or we can kind of reveal a character, like say through what the background of his phone is or something, like yeah, I mean there's plenty of comedy in the sadness, that's for sure. I guess I don't know. At the end of the day, I was just trying to write an entertaining script, so I decided to throw some jokes in there between the big violent set pieces.
And then, for example, from Fantasia on, the film has been linked to Category 3 films from Hong Kong.
Mhm.
So was that, especially Ebola syndrome, kind of like direct influence or not?
Oh, no, not a direct influence in terms of like the plot or even like sort of the filmmaking style. Um, what I do like about the Category 3 films is um, how free they are, like how unconcerned with notions of decency they are. Um, I really respect that because um, in right now they like those kinds of films they can't really be made anymore in Hong Kong, or if they can be made, that the infrastructure is set up so that they can't really make money off of them anymore. So that era is over, and then in the West we have uh, you know we have people kind of like banding together to kind of get things censored, or to like be sort of the moral. It used to, when I was a kid, it was like um, old lame people who were trying to get things censored, and now, like now I'm as an adult, it's like uh, people in their like in their well, I guess it is kind of like old people. It's like people in like their late 30s and 40s. Actually, no, and maybe also people like younger than that, and they're wanting to censor things on the grounds of things being um, I don't know. There's a variety of reasons, generally related to like sexual politics or racial politics or class politics or something like this. But I mean, at the end of the day, like the result is the same. I mean, people are calling for censorship, calling for uh, particular artists to be like canceled and stuff like that. And it's just really, it's kind of heartbreaking for me because like from the perspective of like uh, Hong Kong cinema, uh, they were making films, and eventually their how do you say that, medium, like their method of making art became illegal. In other words, if you try to do it, you face consequences, like from the government, like from the law. And then in the West, it's like just civilians are doing it to themselves. It's like it's it really just doesn't make any sense to me, actually. Like uh, this sort of how do you say that, kind of like uh, self-imposed censorship. But anyways, yeah. But just back to the original question. Um, that that spirit of Category 3, that spirit of just like freedom of artistic expression, and going as far as possible without you know without going too far, like without hurting anybody or putting anyone in danger on set, and also like without obviously inciting uh, hate or against any particular group or anything like that. Um, I think that I just think that we'd be in a lot better place if we could just sort of have that if filmmakers weren't afraid to kind of go far, like they were back in those days. I think that we would have a much richer uh, tapestry of films.
So I wanted to
Cool.
ask you about a few words just for the Mórbido audience. What can they expect from your film?
Although the film has a very like cynical outlook, like on the world, like on a very cynical perspective on humanity and all that sort of stuff. Um, I actually tried to make it with a lot of sincerity, and like uh, I tried to be as uncynical as possible when I made it. I just wanted to make something that I felt was like you know actually really for horror fans, and something that I thought that maybe people who have been uh, lifelong enthusiasts of the genre, and who know all the movies, and who love all the films and who really take it very seriously. I wanted to make something that they uh, maybe something that has the thing that used to be more common in horror films, I guess. Like, I feel like there's like sort of a bite, or like a uh, the teeth of a film. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like the meanness that we used to see in horror films is kind of gone, and we're not really seeing it that much in sort of this kind of film. I guess I was just trying to address that. I really was trying to make something for the fans, and that's just another way of saying that I was really just trying to make it for me. I was trying to make my favorite horror film. So, because I consider myself to be a pretty committed fan to the genre, and I just hope that there's just other people out there who like it, and that just makes me feel kind of like there are other people out there who are kind of like me, I guess.
Well,
Cool.
thank you, Rob, and vayan a ver The Sadness ahora en Mórbido Film Fest.
Thank you very much.